Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. My hair's going to annoy me, I know that. I need a haircut. Meant to go around for a haircut this week and forgot. Anyway, next comment or question comes from Chris Wilson in response to connecting the Roland R-8M modules together. That was the TR3, the TR8 and the System-1, a video I did in December 2015, which was the year they were released. And Chris writes, how do I set the MIDI channels on in the System-1? As at the moment, the TR8 is controlling the System-1 like you mentioned in your post. I've set my kit as in the video. The TR8 and the TB3 work fine together, but the System-1 changes as I bring different fader channels from the TR8. All I would like is for the System-1 to use tempo and the TR8 and TB3. I'm also very new to this, so I do get that maybe what I'm saying is not how things are correctly set up. If you guys could assist me in this point and point me in the right direction, I would much appreciate this. So I've downloaded both the MIDI implementation charts, but I don't even know how to work my way around it yet, hopefully. Okay, I'm going to put it in this way, response to this style of question. Roland didn't think this one through, but it is relatively easy. So the first thing you have to do is you have to turn the unit off and then turn the whole unit back on, holding down the System-1 button. If you have entered the MIDI mode, to enter the MIDI mode, you then have to enter the MIDI mode. The arpeggiator button should be flashing. By turning the scatter knob, you're able to specify what channel the System-1 is receiving on. This channel will be indicated by the number of scatter lights illuminated. Now, if no lights are illuminated, it's not listening on any channel. If lights 1 to 10 are illuminated, that's channels 1 to 16. If light 10 plus 1 to 6 is illuminated, if lights 1 to 10 are illuminated, that's channels 1 to 10. If lights 10 plus 1 to 6 are illuminated, that's 11 to 16. All lights on indicates it's listening on all channels, what we call Omni mode. Once you have set the channels using the arpeggiator button to save, you press the arpeggiator button to save and return to normal operating mode. Not the most user-friendly interface, if I'm honest. In fact, I kind of think MIDI was kind of an afterthought once they thought how the controls on the System-1 needed to be laid out, given that how the weird and wacky way you do stuff on this particular synth. But that's how it's done. Okay, this next question comes from Pete Testtube. I honestly mean that's his name. From a video called What's Inside the Box Roland R-8M, which is a video I did in February 2020, just before we started the pandemic and just before I moved into this workshop. Although it didn't look like this when I moved in. And Pete writes, is the main board where the sounds are stored? Could you swap out the board from a Mark 1 to a Mark 2, M1 to a Mark 2? Right, interesting question. I'll start with the first question. The stock sounds are stored on the ROM chip, which is on the main board. Yes. Yes, you can tweak these sounds. That requires a battery to be intact to retain the tweaks in a RAM chip, but the tweaking is limited. The battery is really for patterns and sequences. Effectively, once you've developed a pattern and developed the sequences, you can store them on the R8M or R8, depending on which one you have, and it should retain those sequences as long as the battery has juice in it. Now, additional sounds for the platform are also available through a series of ROM cards which are much the same as the number of other Roland Systs, but the format of the data is specific to the R8M, so of course you can't cross fertilise between platforms. Now, going to the slightly more ubiquitous question, I think, in terms of swapping the motherboard between Mark 1 and Mark 2, I've never undertaken this exercise. But if I'm looking at pictures of both, they seem to be in the same place, about the same size, and the mounting points seem also to be in the same place. So on the face of it, I would say you can upgrade a Mark 1 to a Mark 2 by replacing the board, but because I've never had cause to do it, I've never done it, and therefore I've never done a deep dive into things like, you know, is it the same voltages of the power supply, which I can't see it not being. Are the wires to the control panel, the pinouts, are they the same? Don't know. But you know, just going down through the list of things you need to check. Connectors are the same, power requirements are the same, input controls are mapped the same way, displays are being driven in the same way. If you could not tick all those boxes, then I would say the answer is an equivocably yes. But I do hope that answers your question.